Hello everyone. Have you ever wondered how something as simple as the food we eat every day could silently carry a disease capable of causing paralysis, organ failure, or even death? Today we are going to explore the fascinating and sometimes frightening world of foodborne diseases. Let us begin by understanding what a foodborne disease actually is. It is defined as a disease, usually either infectious or toxic in nature, caused by agents that enter the body through the ingestion of food. In recent years, several factors have accelerated the global incidence of these diseases. These include rapid urbanization, the industrialization of agriculture, increased global tourism, and growing dependence on mass catering systems. Now, let us look at how foodborne diseases are classified. They are broadly divided into two major categories. The first is infections, which include bacterial diseases like typhoid, Salmonella, E. coli, and Vibrio, viral diseases like hepatitis A and E, and norovirus, and parasitic diseases like Taniasis, Hydatidosis, and Ascariasis. The second category is intoxications, which are further divided into naturally occurring toxins like Lathyrism and endemic Ascites, bacterial toxins like botulism and staphylococcal poisoning, fungal toxins like aflatoxin, ergot, and fusarium, and chemical poisoning from heavy metals, asbestos, pesticides, and solvents. To understand how contamination actually happens, we can use what is called the field to plate vector framework. This framework divides contamination into four zones. Zone 1 is the native seed, where the plant itself carries built-in toxins. Zone 2 is field weed contamination, where toxic mimic plants get accidentally harvested along with the crop. Zone 3 is field fungi, where infestation occurs during the flowering and growth stages of the plant. And Zone 4 is storage fungi, where contamination happens after harvest under specific atmospheric conditions. Let us now walk through some real case files starting with Neurolathyrism. This condition falls under Zone 1, the native built-in toxin category. The food vector here is the seed of the pulse Lathyrus sativus, commonly known as Kesari dhal. The toxic agent responsible is beta-oxalyl aminoalanine, also called BOA. This remains an active public health problem even today in regions where this pulse continues to be a primary staple in the local diet. Next, let us look at endemic ascites. This case was recorded in Kusmi block of Sarguja district in Madhya Pradesh, with outbreaks occurring in 1973 and 1976 among the Nageshiya tribal population. The clinical impact includes rapidly developing ascites and jaundice, affecting both sexes and all age groups except infants. The mortality rate recorded was as high as 40%. The food vector here is Panicum miliare, known as Gondeli millet, which gets contaminated by the weed seeds of Crotalaria, also called Junjunia. The toxic agent is pyrrolizidine alkaloids, which are potent hepatotoxins. Interestingly, the prevention strategy relies entirely on the difference in size between the millet and the toxic weed seed. Simple sieving at the household level using the correct mesh size can effectively separate and remove the toxic contaminant, allowing the safe millet to be retained. Now let us move to epidemic dropsy. This disease results from mustard oil being contaminated, either accidentally or deliberately by unscrupulous dealers with oil from Argemone mexicana, commonly known as prickly poppy. Since the harvest seasons of mustard and this poisonous plant coincide in March, accidental mixing becomes common. Detection is done using the nitric acid test, which develops a brown or orange-red color with a threshold of 0.25% argemone oil. A more sensitive method is paper chromatography, which can detect contamination at a threshold of 0.0001%. The toxic agent responsible is sanguinarine, an acrid orange-colored alkaloid that was isolated in 1941. Once ingested, sanguinarine completely blocks the oxidation of pyruvic acid, causing it to rapidly accumulate in the bloodstream. This leads to capillary dilation and widespread fluid leakage. Clinically, this presents as sudden non-inflammatory swelling of the legs, along with severe diarrhea, breathlessness, and sometimes glaucoma. The prognosis can be extremely serious, with mortality ranging from 5 to 50%, often due to cardiac failure. Let us now discuss ergotism. This condition is caused by Claviceps purpurea, a fungus that infests crops in the field rather than during storage. It affects bajra, rye, sorghum, and wheat, specifically during their flowering stages. It is worth noting that recently introduced high-yielding varieties of bajra show significantly higher vulnerability to this infestation. The acute symptoms include nausea, repeated vomiting, giddiness, and drowsiness lasting between 24 and 48 hours. In its chronic form, ergotism can cause painful limb cramps and severe peripheral gangrene due to extreme constriction of the blood vessels. For eradication, a density-based method is used. Since ergot-infested grains are lighter than healthy grains, submerging the harvest in a 20% saltwater solution causes the toxic fungal masses to float to the surface, where they can be removed. Manual hand picking and air flotation are alternative methods. The toxicological safe limit is estimated strictly at 0.05 milligrams of ergot alkaloids per 100 grams of food material. Moving on to Fusarium toxins, this is considered an emerging threat to both human and livestock health, with contamination levels in primary crops believed to be on an upward trend. The primary substrates affected are sorghum, which is an escalating problem, and rice, which is a highly viable substrate for this fungus. The specific pathogen of focus is Fusarium incarnatum. Research institutions are actively working to isolate, sequence, and identify the specific toxic metabolites produced by this fungus in order to establish future toxicological safety thresholds. Finally, let us look at Aflatoxicosis. This is caused by the storage fungi Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus. The toxic agents involved are aflatoxin B1 and G1, which are extremely potent hepatotoxins and proven carcinogens. Common food vectors include groundnut, maize, parboiled rice, sorghum, wheat, cottonseed, and tapioca. A major outbreak occurred in 1975 in the Banswara and Panchmahal districts of Rajasthan and Gujarat, resulting in 400 severe cases of poisoning and 100 fatalities. Alarmingly, aflatoxin B1 has also been directly detected in the breast milk and urine of children suffering from infantile cirrhosis, highlighting its serious pediatric impact. The danger zone for toxin formation occurs when grain moisture exceeds 16% and temperatures range between 11 and 37 degrees Celsius. Prevention requires that post-drying storage maintain grain moisture strictly below 10%, and any contaminated food must be destroyed rather than salvaged. To summarize everything we have discussed, foodborne diseases arise from a wide variety of sources ranging from native plant toxins and field weed contamination to field and storage fungi. We looked at Neurolathyrism caused by BOA in Kesari pulse, endemic ascites caused by pyrrolizidine alkaloids from Crotalaria weed contamination, epidemic dropsy caused by sanguinarine from argemone contaminated mustard oil, ergotism caused by ergot alkaloids from claviceps fungus, Fusarium toxicity from an emerging fungal threat, and aflatoxicosis caused by aflatoxins from Aspergillus fungi. Each of these conditions reminds us how closely our health is tied to the safety and purity of our food supply. Hope you have understood about the given topic, foodborne disease.